it seems to be like a pretty big contradiction where it's like you can't bear sins of others, but then Allah himself is putting the mountain of sins on a Jew or a Christian.
I don't know, bro. You're gonna have to talk to a scholar. I don't want to say anything wrong.
Do you think that there's an afterlife?
Of course, bro.
Alright. What do you think it is?
Well, it depends. What religion do you believe in?
I'm a Christian.
Okay, so I'm a Muslim, innit? So I believe if I pray my prayers, I'll be a good guy. Like, I'm good to people. I don't
Mm-hmm.
backbite. I don't talk bad about people. I don't think I'm higher than people. I don't have an ego. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you have a pretty good chance of going to heaven, bro. As long as you got good intentions of everything you do, you're good.
Yeah. I mean, at least from my perspective, when it comes to like religion and stuff, we all make mistakes, right? Like we're all
Of
sinners.
course, of course, of course, of course.
So the thing is, because we're sinners, I believe that we deserve God's judgment because He's perfectly just.
Only
But
God
also, I
can judge.
believe, what is that?
I believe only God can judge, innit? No one should be able to judge you as a person. You get what I mean?
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm meaning like the judgment. That's for Him. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
But then the thing about it is, because God is merciful, I believe that that's the reason that Jesus came to this earth and lived that perfect life and paid the penalty for our sins so that we can
Mm.
actually put our trust in Him and be forgiven. Which He's perfectly just while also being perfectly merciful. Which to be a little bit honest with you, when I look at stuff like Islam, I don't think that Allah is fully completing justice in the way that it describes how He's forgiving people.
What do you mean? Give me an example.
Yeah, so like if you're being fully just, that means that you're completely giving the punishment that's deserved.
Yeah,
But if Allah decide, like if I take the Shahada right now,
yeah.
then all of my sins are taken away, and then I have to continue on with doing good deeds and stuff. But everything that I had done to that point, I'm not going to be
No, no,
judged for.
no. But are you saying like everyone sins, so you're gonna have a lot of sins, so God's gonna judge you on them sins?
Partially, but the thing is, I believe that everything that we've done, we deserve punishment for. And I believe that sin requires a punishment because of God's justice. So
Yeah.
if there isn't that happening, then I have a kind of an issue with the character of God, where it's like, okay, well, where's the justice coming in? Because we believe that the justice was poured out on Jesus, which is why we can have forgiveness. But
Mm.
I don't see that with Allah, you know?
Okay. I kind of understand what you're saying, but
Does it make sense a little bit?
yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean, but we believe there's a day of judgment. So
Of course. Yeah.
one day, everything's just gonna like blow out of control. Everything in the world,
Hmm.
yeah. And then we all go to like wherever we go to, and we're judged. We're all judged, no matter what, because everyone's gonna die. And no one's gonna live forever.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. And everyone's gonna be judged, and even if you've done a lot of bad stuff, like we've got things that are like serious, very serious sins, and then stuff that like isn't as serious, like like smoking. It's not as serious, like a vape. Like
Yeah, and I understand that.
it's not
But then,
as serious as having sex with like a girl when you're not married. If you get what I mean.
yeah, but then there's still like the whole issue of, okay, well, whether it's a big sin or if it's a small
Yeah,
sin
yeah, yeah.
that deserves more or less punishment, regardless, we've all done some type of sins, and if
Mm.
Allah's forgiven us, that means that He isn't fully carrying out His justice of whether that's the small sins that I'm supposed to be punished
Of
for
course.
or the big sins.
No, but he doesn't just forgive everything like it never happened. That's not
Okay.
how it. That's
And
not how it goes. It's
how
like
does it work?
I can't. Obviously, I haven't been judged, have I? But I can't. I'm pretty sure it would most likely work as in like, say you killed a man. It's a sin to kill someone, but you say you were defending your family. It's not a sin. But if you went out there and you wasn't defending yourself, you went to look for someone to kill. You'd be judged on that. Even if you prayed for forgiveness and you asked God to forgive you, he'd still be punished. Maybe not as bad though.
Okay. But like you would go to heaven in the end?
It depends.
Okay.
Because most people will make it to heaven. If you pray, you will go to heaven. A pray like someone that prays is the best Muslim. You can do whatever sin. I'm not saying like you're allowed to go do it, but I'm saying a person that doesn't pray is worse than a person that's a serial killer that prays. Does anything else in the Quran not make sense to you?
Well, I do believe that there's a false prophecy in the Quran, certain
Uh-huh.
moral issues, but even going
Uh,
on the atonement stuff, just for a
like,
second,
yeah, okay,
there's
okay.
there's like the verse that talks about how no bearer of burden can bear the burden of another. You know, I don't know. Do you know that verse?
I've read it before, but uh,
Okay,
obviously, yeah,
but it's like talking about how like somebody who has sins can't carry somebody else's sins, right?
yeah.
Okay. So that's why I believe that Jesus can bear our sins because of the fact that he was sinless. But then if we go to like the Hadith, it talks about how if somebody was a Muslim and they had like a mountain of sins, those sins would be put on a Jew or a Christian. So I seem to look at this and say
And
no bearer of
does
burden
that
can
say
bear the burden of another.
what hadith does that like which hadith?
I can find it online if you would like me to. But
Yeah, tell me please.
if that is like a reliable source, if that's like an authentic saying, you know, it seems to be like a pretty big contradiction where it's like you can't bear sins of others, but then Allah himself is putting the mountain of sins on a Jew or a Christian. So
Because
I
he's talking to when you read the Quran most obviously I don't know, bro. You're gonna have to talk to a scholar. I don't want to say anything wrong and make it just look like I'm like an idiot.
okay. Yeah, I'm not trying to like challenge you on like stuff that you don't understand, you know.
Yeah, it seems like you're not more into religion, like more you've got more of a vaster knowledge. Like you got a bigger you know a lot more, sounds like.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
I don't understand God coming to Earth.
Mhm.
Well, what you believe to be God coming to
Yeah.
Earth as a human.
Mhm.
I don't understand the Trinity really.
Sure. Like how is it even possible basically?
Yeah, that, can you explain that to me?
Sure. So we're one being in one person, right?
Yep.
So and you believe that Allah is one being in one person. So the thing about it is we're limited to this universe. God created us in this specific way. But God is outside of everything. He's beyond space, time, matter. He's uncreated. So because he's beyond everything in creation, he very easily could be one being in three distinct persons, not one being in one person. It just depends on what the evidence points to. So I think that it's possible that he could be one being in one person. But I believe that he is one being in three distinct persons because of what the evidence points to.
Okay.
But I do think that the evidence points to one God though. Which is why I think that monotheism at least is the general category that's true. But then we have to narrow it down from there.
Yeah, I think you should definitely speak to a scholar, bro. I think they'd be able to answer a lot of your questions, you know.
At least from a lot of the people that I've talked to so far, they're not able to answer certain things.